I had an affair with your dad, and it was after since then that this strange illness started, Mandy confessed. In the city of Lucidia, Daniella and Mandy were known as the inseparable duo. They met on their first day at the prestigious Royal Academy University and instantly clicked. Daniella, a kind-hearted girl with a radiant smile, came from a wealthy background. Her father, Mr. Bright, was a renowned businessman, but her mother had passed away when Daniella was very young, and the family had a shadow cast over them since the death of Daniella's mother. Mandy, on the other hand, came from a modest family who lived on the outskirts of the city, struggling to make ends meet. Despite their differences, their friendship blossomed, becoming the talk of the university. The girls did everything together, from attending classes to partying late into the night, and often visited each other's apartments. Their bond was so strong that people often mistook them for sisters. Mandy loved the lavish lifestyle Daniella enjoyed, and Daniella admired Mandy's carefree spirit. They shared secrets, dreams, and aspirations, promising to always be there for each other. As the semester drew to a close one holiday, students prepared to leave for their homes. Mandy was filled with dread. She didn't want to return to her parents' house in the slum at the city outskirts. The university authority had announced that the hostels will be locked during the holiday, leaving Mandy with nowhere to stay in the city. On the other hand, Daniella was excited to return to her father's mansion in the heart of the city. Mandy confided in Daniella about her reluctance to go home, and Daniella, always ready to help, suggested that Mandy come with her to her father's mansion in the heart of the city. "Are you sure it's okay?" Mandy asked, her eyes wide with hope. "Of course, silly. My dad will be thrilled to have you. We will have so much fun," Daniella replied with a smile. With that, Mandy packed her bags, excited for the luxurious holiday that awaited her. Mr. Bright's mansion was a sight to behold. It stood tall with grand pillars and a sprawling garden that seemed to go on forever. Mandy's eyes widened in awe as they drove through the gates. Inside the mansion was even more impressive, with chandeliers hanging from the ceiling and walls adorned with expensive artwork. Mr. Bright greeted them warmly. He was a tall man with gray hair and a commanding presence. The holiday started well. They enjoyed swimming in the pool, watching movies in the home theater, and shopping in the city. Mr. Bright was generous, often giving them money for shopping and treating them to expensive dinners. Daniella was happy to share her luxurious life with her best friend. However, one day, while exploring the mansion, Mandy stumbled upon Mr. Bright's study. The door was slightly ajar, and inside, she saw documents scattered on the desk. Curiosity got the better part of her, and she tiptoed in. As she read through the papers, her eyes widened. Mr. Bright's wealth was far greater than she had imagined. An idea began to form in her mind. There were properties, bank statements, and investments worth millions. A thought crossed her mind, and from that moment, her behavior began to change. From that day on, Mandy's demeanor changed. Mandy started dressing more seductively, hoping to catch Mr. Bright's attention. She would linger around him, laughing at his jokes and complimenting him often. Mr. Bright noticed Mandy's advances. At first, he seemed surprised, but soon he started responding to her advances, and they started having an affair, unbeknownst to Daniella. Mandy was thrilled by the expensive gifts Mr. Bright showered her with. She enjoyed the luxurious dinners and the thrill of their secret meetings. Mr. Bright continued to spoil the girls, especially Mandy. He rented a beautiful apartment for her near the university, so she didn't have to stay in the hostel anymore. Mandy was thrilled and grateful. Meanwhile, Daniella remained blissfully unaware, enjoying her time with her best friend and her father. As the holiday came to an end, Daniella and Mandy returned to the university. Mandy was excited to show Daniella the new beautiful apartment. It was close to the university and beautifully furnished, a perfect place for them to hang out. However, Mandy's joy was short-lived. When they returned to school, things seemed normal at first, but 2 months later, Mandy began to notice changes in her body. It started with a foul smell, then a discharge, and soon her private area began to swell. Scared and embarrassed, she kept this a secret from Daniella and visited several hospitals for treatment, but nothing helped. Her condition worsened and she spent all her money trying to find a cure. Desperate and out of options, Mandy tried to contact Mr. Bright, but he had blocked her everywhere. She felt abandoned and scared. Her condition worsened, and Daniella began to notice the distance growing between them. Daniella couldn't understand what was happening. Mandy looked increasingly worn out and unkempt. One day, she decided to pay her a visit at her new apartment. When Daniella arrived at Mandy's apartment, she was shocked by the smell and Mandy's appearance. Mandy looked pale and sick, her once vibrant eyes now dull. "What's going on, Mandy? You look terrible." "Let me help you," Daniella pleaded. "I'm fine, Daniella. Really, I am," Mandy insisted weakly. But Daniella knew better. Mandy's health worsened rapidly. Her private area started peeling, and she could no longer hide her condition. One day, she was rushed to the hospital in a critical state. Daniella, shocked by her friend's condition, stayed with her at the hospital. The doctors were baffled and couldn't diagnose the illness. Realizing that she might not survive, Mandy decided to confess. "Daniella, I need to tell you something," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "What is it, Mandy? You can tell me anything," Daniella said, tears streaming down her face. "I had an affair with your dad, and it was since then that this strange illness started," Mandy confessed, her voice trembling. Daniella felt like the ground had been pulled out from under her. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. Without saying a word, she ran out of the hospital, her heart shattered. Daniella raced to her father's mansion, her mind in turmoil. She found Mr. Bright in his study, calmly reading a book. "Dad, how could you?" she screamed, her voice filled with pain and betrayal. Mr. Bright looked up, his expression calm and detached. "Daniella, there are things you don't understand," he said coldly. "Mandy is dying because of you," Daniella yelled. Mr. Bright's eyes darkened. "Mandy had to die for me to live," he said cryptically. Daniella didn't understand what he meant. She ran out of the mansion, her heart heavy with sorrow and confusion. Daniella rushed back to the hospital, hoping to make amends with Mandy. But it was too late. Mandy had passed away. She felt a deep sadness and guilt for not forgiving her friend. Daniella collapsed beside her friend's lifeless body, her heart breaking into a million pieces. The funeral was a somber affair, and Daniella struggled to cope with the loss. At Mandy's funeral, Daniella couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to her father's words. She began to investigate and soon uncovered a dark secret. As she dug deeper, she discovered that her father's mansion held many more secrets. Hidden rooms, strange symbols, and books on dark magic pointed to the depth of his involvement. She found old photographs of her mother and Mandy, realizing that they were not his first victims. Each discovery fueled her resolve to stop her father and end the cycle of evil. She found out that her father was part of an occult group that used dark rituals to extend their lives. He had sacrificed her mother and now Mandy to prolong his own life. Daniella was horrified. She felt betrayed and disgusted. She vowed to bring her father to justice and to make sure no one else suffered the same fate as her beloved friend. With a heavy heart, Daniella returned to the university. She moved into the apartment her father had rented for Mandy, but it no longer felt like a gift. It was a reminder of the dark secrets that had shattered her life. She threw herself into her studies, determined to honor Mandy's memory by making something of herself. Daniella made new friends, slowly rebuilding her life. She never forgot Mandy, the friend who had been like a sister to her. She visited Mandy's grave often, sharing her thoughts and feelings, and promising to never forget the bond they shared. The shadows of her past still lingered, but Daniella was stronger now. She had faced betrayal and loss, and emerged with a newfound determination. She would make a difference in the world, for Mandy, for her mother, and for herself. As she stood by Mandy's grave one last time, she reflected heavily on all the memories she had with Mandy. Daniella made a promise to herself. She would live a life of kindness and integrity, honoring the friendship and love that had been taken from her. She knew it wouldn't be easy, but she was determined to find happiness and peace, no matter the challenges ahead.